views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most inspired visionaries on the planet in lighthearted, lively dialogue. Join us as we explore the expansive nature of reality in a down-to-earth way, offering you insights and tools, empowering you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Now, here's your host, Christine Upchurch.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Christine Upchurch Show, where we have stellar conversations to illuminate your journey. I'm speaking to you today from Hubbard Radio here in Seattle on KKNW AM 1150. You may be listening live on WBLQ AM 1230 in Rhode Island, Connecticut, or New York. You might be listening on one of the 35 stations in Australia or anywhere around the world on Transformation Talk Radio or in the archives on christineupchurch.com after the fact. But wherever and whenever you're joining us from today, you're going to be so glad you're here because, I've got one of my favorite guests. But before I tell you who that is, because I want to keep you in suspense, I want to say hello to my better half here in the studio who allows you to hear these wonderful conversations, Mr. Benny Mathers. Good morning, Benny.
Hi there. Not just normal conversations we have here. We have stellar conversations.
Yeah, well,
just to make sure
my healing center was named Stellar Reflections, so it's really kind of a play on that.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. I knew you knew that.
Just letting everybody else know.
Yes. And it seems like we want to have bring out the stellar part of each of ourselves. The reflection from the highest self, and that's what the show is about.
And we can do that today with our guest, JVP.
Oh, yeah.
I've abbreviated it, and I'm sure he likes that too.
We're talking to James Van Praagh today, and he is an amazing man. He's known as an evidential medium. He actually brought mediumship to the forefront, and he's now a household name. I'm sure he is. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He's written, it's at least over a dozen books. And his new one is a wonderful book. It's called The Power of Love, Connecting to the Oneness. And I know that's something that we all long for at this point. We so need to do. And, he is world-renowned. His books have hit number one on the New York Times bestseller list. He provides proof of life after death, and he gives detailed messages to people. So he is in that realm that we so often long for, that we come from. And he helps people to understand and to have a deep knowingness of our connection. He's a familiar presence on television, radio, and shows such as this. And he's been doing this for, 3 decades or something. He was the creator and executive producer of CBS's long-running series, The Ghost Whisperer, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt. And he recently launched the James Van Praagh School of Mystical Arts. I'm so grateful to have him here today. James Van Praagh. James, welcome.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks, Benny. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right. I know. We got to get the studio audience out of here. You're a big dude.
James, we've obviously had you on before. So, I've chatted before. I've seen you speak numerous times. I've gotten to connect with you, after your talks. You, to me, are one of these people who just you're so good at connecting to your heart and staying there regardless of the chaos around. And that's something I think that we all long for. There's a wee bit of chaos in our world right now, isn't there?
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a wee bit. Yeah, just a wee bit. Yeah, it's interesting because before we went on air, we were talking about the craziness going on the planet, and you got to keep yourself kind of centered in your beingness. And I think that it's a transformational time right now that we're in. I think that, as I mentioned to you, that a lot of the darkness has to come to the light in order to be healed. So the sense of being separate from one another and that people are better than others, and that's all that illusion is going to drop. And sometimes we need certain dramatic events to occur in order for people to make this change, to have the awareness of the change, and for that big, big change to take place. So sometimes, you have to have a dramatic thing happen for that to occur.
Right, right.
So, but it's important we don't lose ourselves. We don't lose our sense of self. We don't get caught up in the mishigas of what's happening. We can be observant of it, be aware of what's going on. We can speak up against it or for it or whatever we want to do. But we don't want to lose our sense of who we are. We're a soul having this human experience, and it's part of the human experience to go through changes. It really is.
Right.
But, it's how it affects us. We're in control of how it affects us. We have that choice.
Yeah.
Is it going to affect me in one way or another? So we do have that choice.
I know of a lot of what I consider to be high vibrational individuals who are getting into a very reactive place, which kind of surprises me because it seems like when we're in this reactive place. I mean, I understand that we need to speak up and stand for something and co-create in that positive way, but it seems like some people are getting sucked in to the negativity and the pushing against.
I think, Christine, I think it's a matter of, I'm just speaking, this is just my own opinion here, but I think that when you have people who are maybe aware in certain levels, certain aspects of being, when things happen that are just so not good, that people are hurt by it, and that things are occurring which is beyond their belief, that it goes against the grain of what they've learned, it gets on a deep, deep level. And they forget, that they have to wait a minute. This isn't who we are. We're going to get through this, and 2 or 3 years it's going to be very different, and we will get through it. But it affects us. We got to be careful to drop down to that human, but hard not to because we're having a human experience. So, but we just even those people that are spouting to be spiritual and a high vibrational people, which is about love. Be very mindful. Be aware that what is going on here. It's a human situation, and again, like you said, you can speak out against it or for it or whatever. You can do something about it. That's important. But it is a change. It's transformation. It's like the Mayans said in 2012, in the 2012 calendar, that was a change. So this is the change that they were referring to. There are changes now globally. So we're ready for this change. We've all come back for this change. So it's evolution.
And I think that many of us were either hoping or expecting that this change that we feel like we've shown up on the planet right now to help with was actually just going to shift into the positive. Why does it need to go through this process? Oh,
you got to go through the hard to get to the good. I mean, you got to go through the fear to get to the love. You got to go through all that stuff that's been a belief system for so many centuries that things are maybe built on that wasn't truth. So, if things were not built, and this is just my own philosophy here, if things were created, originated, and built upon untruths, centuries ago, that's not going to work anymore because we're evolving as a species. We're evolving. And when there's evolving, the old belief systems, old paradigms, they won't work anymore for us. So there's got to be a shift. And some of those, it won't be easy because people have believed a certain way for a certain amount of time, and those ways of thinking are ingrained in us. And this, in a way, it's going to be ripped out and redone again because we've changed. It's got to meet the vibration that we're going into. That old stuff won't work. You can't put a square into a circle. It won't work anymore. So that's what's going to happen. It's such a dramatic change, but it is a change. There's a change. There's a bigger force involved here, too. We can't forget that there's a force. There's a higher source that's overlooking this whole thing, too.
Right. And, I think that one of the things I've been observing in others, and one of the things I sort of have to kind of monitor myself with is attachment to those beliefs that you say need to be crumbling because they don't serve us anymore. How do we deal with our attachments in the midst of this seeming chaos?
Well, how do we deal with that? Well, first of all, I think it's a great opportunity to go within yourself as well. So people say, how can I change the world? How can I change that macrocosm? Like, well, you cannot change the macrocosm without changing the microcosm. So you have to go within yourself and see, okay, what am I holding on to from the past? What attachments am I holding on to? Are there areas of my life where I really need to have more of an understanding, where I need to be more compassionate, where I need to be non-judgmental, where I need to make things happen, where I need to stand up for something? We have to look within our own selves, too, and work on that. And then also, then in the outside world, we can do things such as make phone calls. We can join organizations. We can do that. But we also got to work within ourselves, too. And that will happen. It'll have a rippling effect on the macrocosm.
And I know, and we're going to get into this very shortly, that you write a lot about love. Is it possible in the midst of all this for us to come to a place of love of those who are perpetuating or trying to move forward things that are the antithesis of our heart-centered beliefs?
Well, I think that we have to, again, go back to happiness, because it's through happiness you're going to find true love. And true love has the powers to heal and transform any situation around us, and bring meaning to our lives and the world around us. So we have to find. It's hard but don't get pulled into that negative energy, that fear energy, that mongering, that dictator stuff, which I think is happening.
Right.
You can't. So we got to speak up against it. We got to rise up and do something against that. Doesn't mean you're just because you're not. You got to be very, very careful. We got to measure. We got to measure how we react. We can't let it control us. We got to realize there's much bigger and more to that. We can acknowledge that this behavior is not appropriate.
Right.
The behavior is that certain things are not appropriate, and there are things we can do. I mean, there are definitely things we can do. I know people around me have been making phone calls to congressmen every single day in the United States. And also people have done meditation every day. They've done certain meditations, healing meditations. So we can do that. If our hearts are big, we can be like a river. When our hearts are small, our understanding and passion are limited, and we suffer. So we got to remember that. So we can't we can't accept or tolerate others and their shortcomings, and we demand that they change. But when our hearts expand, the same things don't make us suffer anymore. So we have to look at ourselves and open up our own hearts, too.
That's wonderful. We have to go to a quick break, but when we return, James, I'm going to want you to talk about the reason you wrote this latest book, The Power of Love, and how you connect with oneness and how we can do the same. More with the wonderful James Van Praagh here in just a few moments.
Brand consultant Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help you take control of your future and maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're an individual trying to reinvent yourself and launch a new venture, or you're an executive trying to reposition your company to modernize your sales and marketing programs, Jen Morgan and the RAD Method empower you to play to your strengths and show up in the world as your most powerful brand. To learn more, go to jenmorgan.com. That's Jen with 2 N's, Morgan.com, or call 206-972-5366.
What is a brilliant culture? And how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you design a culture that is authentic, innovative, and successful. Learn how to create change with Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence, and Claudette Rowley. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit ClaudetteRowley.com.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
This is Sarah Luce from Small Steps Big Breakthrough Radio. I want to invite you to join me and women across the globe for my Sister Spirit Party, where we're going to be teaching you how to lose those limiting beliefs, toss the struggles, lose all the old stories that keep you stuck, so that you can leap fully into your power in 2017. Girl, the world needs you to shine right now, so please join us for this powerful and fun group mentoring called Sister Spirit Party. And now, till February 10th, I'm going to give you $50 off your enrollment. So go to sarahluce.com and enter your coupon code SISTER50 for your enrollment discount. Girl, we need you to shine. Join us. Join the Sister Spirit Party. Let's get your power on.
I'm Peggy Snow with another Stellar Reflections Minute. Presence, or what we think of as being fully in the moment, is a key element in the process of healing work. As a practitioner facilitating a session, genuine presence takes us out of our heads, where we tend to decide what is and maybe what should be for the client, and moves us into direct experience, where we're available to witness the person in their wholeness. In this receptive realm, our senses are heightened and expanded, allowing us to perceive what's seeking to unfold and to interact in the moment. There's something profoundly powerful that happens when healing is approached in this simple, pure way. Balance can be restored and healing can take place on multiple levels. If you'd like more information about the services we offer at Stellar Reflections, visit us at stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW and Transformation Talk Radio. You know, James, I'm fascinated by your books, and when I saw this beautiful cover of your new book called "The Power of Love: Connecting to the Oneness," it brought up a couple of questions for me. One is, first of all, why did you write another book? Because you've written so much. Because obviously you have something new to say. And secondly, why is it important for us to connect to the oneness?
Well, number one is with this to acknowledge. Well, first of all, I wrote the book. I always tell people the reason I wrote this book. It took 30 years to write this book. It's the longest written book ever, and I didn't know I was going to write this book. And as what I do is I just don't write books to write books. There has to be, like I said, a reason why. And this was something that came to me. I would say probably about a year ago or a year and a half ago, before I wrote the book. It was, Spirit came to me, my guides came to me, and they said to me, we want you to write a book about love. Uh-huh. And I'm like, okay. And they said, we're going to work with you, especially as a council or a guides, a new team of guides who work on that vibration. And they said, we want you to teach or to make people more aware that they are a soul having a human experience, and that they are made from love. The soul's natural energy is of love. And that energy of love is all around us. It's all around us like oxygen that we breathe. And it's an energy, and we are energy beings of love. And that energy is all around us. Why won't we use it? So it's really kind of a way for us to look at life, a very different perspective, from the sense of loving energy and how to use love in our daily lives, in the choices that we make, and to have really lives that we want to be, want to experience, that happiness and joy and abundance. We can have all that. That's meant to be. So it's using that energy of love. So the book is really about how to use that energy on a daily basis and look at your life with that in that way.
I think oftentimes people don't think of love necessarily as energy, but rather they think of it like in terms of dysfunctional romantic relationships.
I know. Right.
So how does love affect every aspect of our lives? So it goes beyond the romance, and it goes beyond even the parenting. How, if it's the energy around us, how does it affect us?
Well, let's start at the beginning. So at the beginning, going way back to when we were children. So when we first come into this human consciousness, when we first babies coming into maybe year 2, 3, and 4 in this world, babies, children, toddlers, young children are very open because they've just come from the spirit world. They're souls who have just come from the spirit world, so their mindset is very much of the spirit, very much of their soul self in the spirit in a new world. And in their world, as a soul, they haven't been taught yet about fear, limitation, judgment. They are very honest. If you ask a child something, they'll be honest. They're completely honest with what they feel and experience, because that's all they know. Yes. So it isn't until probably the age of, I would say, 6, 7, 8, 9, when they start getting into school or their mothers and fathers or the adults around them, who insist that they behave a certain way, that this way of being is acceptable, the other way is not acceptable.
Right.
Oh, those are imaginary friends. Well, no, I've seen them. No, those are imaginary friends.
Yeah.
And they begin to impart their rules and their limitations on the young soul, including, if you will, school behaviors. You have to get an A here. You have to do the best you can.
Right.
Really, and just saying, well, you are the best you can already. But we instill these laws, these limitations, this way of living, programming. So we become very programmed at an early age, and in a way that takes us away from who we are, and it puts us in a sense of fear, a state of fear.
It's kind of conditional love situation set up.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So it's love with there's conditions. There's a conditional love because you have to behave in this way to receive love. I mean, that's how we in turn look at it, because we want love from our mother and father and our family and our friends, and we'll do something to receive their love. So immediately we get into that mindset of, we have to do something in order to receive love. That's not how it is.
Yeah.
And so we grow up that way, and eventually in life, people, you say, are you happy? Well, I'm not really happy. Well, why aren't you happy? Well, I'm just not true. I'm not sure why I'm happy. I don't have the person in my life. I don't have this going on. And then coming back down to the basic, really premise of the reason why it is that way is because I always say life is a series of choices, and all choices are based upon love or fear. So if you entered into something based upon what other people think of you, and you wanted to please other people, and you went into a job or a study, or you married somebody who, might had to be married. I'm not sure if I really love them, maybe I can learn to. Or, this job pays really, really well. I'm not sure I love the job, but it pays well. We get into these illusions, and then 30 years later, 40 years later, we're like, I'm not really happy. It's because we've lived in fear. Right. We've lived in fear trying to attain love from others and situations when it's not in our vibration. It's not who we truly are. So we're giving away our power, if you will.
Right.
And not only can you can only be happy, truly happy, genuinely happy in life when you live your vibration, which is unique to each soul, and which is love. Loving yourself in a certain way, which is maybe different than other people, and maybe you do things that are different than other people love. You have to love your own uniqueness and do things accordingly. It's the only way. So that's the reason why I wrote the book, or why they wrote the book, and I channeled the book, I should say.
Right. Giving credit where credit is due.
That's the proper way of saying it, really, because we're all channelers of books and artworks, and we are scientists, and we just, we all use that creative psychic, what are you going to call it, creative force, that psychic energy. Everybody's a medium in their own way. We just are tuned into different stations. But it's just, that's really what it's about. It's using your love. It's using your being who you are. What other people think of us, that should be none of our business.
Right.
Because nobody knows us better than we know ourselves.
Yeah. And, of course, if we love ourselves, then we're no longer looking for that conditional love.
You know what? When you start loving yourself, you will set up a magnetism around you. Because we're all made of energy, you are made of what you think. So if you think and bring that vibration, the frequency around you, to a loving vibration, we are magnets, and we will draw to us that vibration. We'll draw to us those people in our lives who love us unconditionally. Yeah. So I started doing a meditation years ago, and it's called Healthy Am I, Happy Am I, Holy Am I. And I have people sometimes do that. They put it on the mirror in their bathroom, and they write it down. They say it 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening. And I will tell you, Christine, it's really changed people's vibration around them. And they say, I get emails all the time, and they say, wow, my life has really changed. The people that I thought my friends are not really my friends. I've gone through a divorce, and my husband and my wife didn't really like me and love me like I thought they would, and I've changed jobs, and it really changes things up when you start living in love and using that loving vibration. Don't wait till you pass out of the human body to get true love. You don't need to.
And, James, you bring up such an important point about when we begin to love ourselves more purely, we have to let go of those things that are no longer serving us. The love that has the relationships where the love is conditional. How do you help people?
Living in the illusion.
Yeah. So how do you help people with the letting go?
Of letting go, of you letting go of people?
Or circumstances like the job or the marriage or the whatever.
You have to know what's right for you. Those types of things, whether the marriage, the job, the friend relationships, they will slough off naturally. Believe me, things will happen naturally where they will get it. Because, when you have a vibration around you and a frequency around you, I often use the analogy that it's like walking into a room where there's too much wattage and you have to close your eyes. You can't take all the light. It's just wattage.
Right, yeah.
There's this energy of love, and the people will not, on some level, they might not know it consciously, but energetically, they'll know something's different. They feel different. And stuff will come up for them. Because remember, love is light. So love illuminates. So their own stuff will come up. Their own limitations come up. They cannot relate to you the same way. So it'll naturally flow. Believe me, it naturally flows. I've had several friends who I thought, and they were spiritually minded people, and I thought, wow, these are great spiritual people, and I'm with them, and I'm teaching with certain people. And then years later, I found that they weren't at the frequency, which is not good or bad. They weren't at the same frequency that I was. Yeah. And we find that, and they would just naturally float away. We realize that we're not in the same boat. We're just different. And that's what we should do all the time in life, because we're always transforming. Life is all about change. I mean, if we weren't changing, then why would we live? Life is change. Life is movement. Life is movement. The energy within us and around us is moving constantly, always moving constantly. So why would we get stuck? Certain belief systems are stuck with certain people if we're not moving with them, including relationships, by the way.
Right.
I think souls come together, whether it's marriages, partnerships, you come together to grow together, but and grow separately. But sometimes there's a soul that doesn't grow as much as the other soul, and it's time to move on, you know?
Right. Or the soul, one soul will trigger the wounds in another soul so they can finally heal them, and then there won't be a purpose anymore for the relationship.
Exactly right, 100%. That's exactly right.
Like been there, done that, yes.
Yeah. And it's not a good or bad. It's not a judgment. Right. It's no judgment of good or bad. It just is what it is, and that's all that it is.
Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like when there have been times when I feel like I've transcended a wound based on a painful interaction or relationship, I actually bless the other person, because I think if they came in with that kind of stuff to irritate me enough to really heal and grow, then they, more power to them. I'm really grateful to them on a soul level. It's
bless them because bless them because they're a mirror to yourself. We're all mirrors to each other, and we have to see what within ourselves is not whole. We're not wholeness of being. So if you have people in your life, and this I find is really interesting, because I say to people, well, we come back in group souls, and mostly your family members, those are the ones you grow the most from, those ones you learn the most lessons. Wow. Because there's also that emotional level, too, that we're connected with the soul family. So they're going to put stuff within you. They're going to show you things, and they're going to present things. It's like, wow, here's an opportunity. Am I going to go where I can't forgive them, or is there unconditional love, or is it learning of patience or compassion or understanding, without judging, by the way, which is really hard, people, without judging. In the book I talk a lot about, and I love this, or the spirit people talk about, it's really interesting. When you get to a situation and you're used to knee-jerk reaction, which means you'll jump into judgment, they say stop doing that. Just stop, pause, take a few breaths, and look at it objectively. Be open and be objective. What's going on with this person that you're having this interaction with this moment? Look at them, and you have to meet them where they're at. You've got to meet them exactly where they're at, because they bring into that situation all of their past experiences in this lifetime and other lifetimes, all of their emotional experiences, all their beliefs, their non-beliefs. So really when they say things to us, it's really their own projections of where they've been through. Most of the time, it's nothing to do with us. We never should take it personally because it's their stuff.
Yeah.
So if we can just be objective and say, okay, I understand where you're coming from, and that's fine for you. But I don't accept that. You maybe have healthy boundaries we got to instill, or that's not right for me. But that's fine, but that's not right for me. So we have to have that power back and see it for what it is. Be objective. Don't be judgmental, because if you judge someone from that, you're falling back into fear, and you're trying to make yourself right. And no one's right or wrong. It just is.
Right.
So when we get the judgment, we try to be right. We think we're right. And it's also when we have judgment, it's a control thing. I'm judging another person because I feel like I'm out of control. And if I can say I'm better than, or look at something differently, then I'm more in control of my life, supposedly.
Yeah. This is a great conversation, James, but we have to go to another quick break. More with James Van Praagh here in just a few moments.
No,
25th Annual Women of Wisdom Conference. Remember who you are, honoring ourselves, we heal the world. Is this February 16th through the 20th. WOW is calling for women to gather. This is the time for women to step into our power, support each other, share our stories, empower our dreams, and build leaders for our community and the next generation of women. Join us for life-changing, intimate workshops on diverse topics such as music, dance, art, sexuality, relationships, healing, goddess wisdom, life purpose, and more. Join us and be witnessed, valued, and inspired to discover your purpose and share your stories. WOW is one of the longest-running women's spirituality conferences in the world. You can register for individual events or enjoy the whole weekend. This February 16th through the 20th. Visit womenofwisdom.org.
Be unstoppable. Who do executive women count on for up-to-date information on everything from stilettos to being heard in the boardroom? To achieve excellence, you must first take control of your life and develop a successful strategy with the Unstoppable Diva. Tune in to Up or Out with Connie Fife, Mondays 5 p.m. Eastern, as she cuts through the BS to guide you to become bold, connected, and unstoppable. For more information, visit uporout.com.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from running your life? Join award-winning author Dr. Friedemann Schaub for Empowerment Radio and learn breakthrough solutions to switch out of survival mode and approach every day with great ease, joy, and purpose. Tune in the first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific to Empowerment Radio with host Dr. Friedemann Schaub on Transformation Talk Radio. Visit thefearandanxietysolution.com to learn more.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. Years ago, when facing cancer, without any immediate treatment options, I sought healing by making various life changes. For a while, I followed a very restrictive diet. I often found myself obsessing about which foods were good and which ones were bad. Then one day, I realized I was consuming foods based on fear of not getting well. But I didn't want to make choices out of fear anymore. I decided it was far better for my immune system if I allowed myself to experience the joy that came from, say, eating frozen yogurt, than it was for me to ingest the fear that came from avoiding it. Now, instead of choosing healthy habits based on fear, I try to make choices because they feel right and ultimately bring me joy and ease. How many of your healthy habits are really based on fear? Please visit stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836. Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW and Transformation Talk Radio. I'm so excited about the conversation I'm having the opportunity to have today with James Van Praagh. You know, James, I love your new book. It's called The Power of Love, Connecting to the Oneness. And I know that you travel around. You've also got a mystical school. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I'd love to share this with you. And everyone listening. About 6 years ago, I wanted to find a way, and I know Spirit World wanted to find a way of how to reach as many people as possible, because really what part of my soul's plan is to educate and really shift the consciousness on the planet in this lifetime. And I know that the people called me from all over, from Africa, Australia, from Brazil, from Japan, and they wanted ways to work as far as with the spirit world, or work on their own intuition, or learn about meditation. So I wanted to form a school. So I formed an internet school, an online school called the James Van Praagh School of Mystical Arts. And it opened about a year and a half ago, and they have lots and lots of different courses based upon what people wanted. So I have a Facebook page where people come and say, I would like to learn more about mindfulness. I'd like to learn more about abundance. So I put the school together, and it's an online school, and people go on the JVP School of Mystical Arts. And I just literally this week opened a new course, which is called Opening Your Psychic Portals, Mastering Clairvoyance, Clairsentience, Claircognizance, and Clairaudience, and a lot more. And it's about 61 videos. It's homework. Wow. And I really am in-depth. I do really in-depth, as people might be able to tell by our interview, about all my stuff I've learned, and it helps people to open up their own spiritual potential, the mediumistic potential, have deeper psychic insights, and really unleash their soul's voice. So it's the JVP School of Mystical Arts, and this is Opening Up Your Psychic Portals.
Wonderful. And James, can you share with our listeners how they can reach you on the Internet?
Yes, the JVP School of Mystical Arts. That's the first why. Because I listen to all those questions people ask me. And then I have a website, which is vanpraagh.com. That's VANPRAAGH.com. And also on Facebook. I have right now it's like over 500,000 people on my public page. And that's really the page that I go on. That and the school page, the Facebook school page I go on too. That's all I do. I don't do a private page. I don't do that. So it might come up private first, but go to the public page and like me, please like me, because I need friends. And that's the way to reach me. And we're forming a great community on there, especially with the school.
Benny and I are laughing.
You really
here.
say because you need friends?
You need friends, yes.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah, you've only got a few million at this point,
right?
James. Yes.
Only 500,000.
Hey, we're lucky to be sprinkled in between there.
Oh.
I've been around a long time, though, so that's it's all relative.
Yeah. Well, James, I know you're helping people to open up to the connection with this other realm, this connection to this place where, we are vibrating in the vibration of love. And you talked a little bit about how your guides wrote this book. Yeah. So what process do you go through to connect?
So, and I'm gonna say this again. It's really spelled out very, very clearly in the school. Because there are different courses. One course I have there, which is incredible, because all these courses are channeled, obviously, but there's one that they gave me about 3 months ago, actually, or maybe longer, 4 months, and it's called A Day in the Spirit World. And in that one course, I work with people, it's a full day, and I work with people in the beginning where they close their eyes, and I bring them to a meditative state. And that's really, really important that people sit in this stillness and the quiet. And whether it's involving the breathing, whether it's just connecting with the heartbeat and the breathing and how the body feels, and then the realization that we're more than just the body. We are a light being. We're made of beautiful light, and that we're connected to source energy, and they can call that God or God energy or their higher self or soul self, whatever they want to call that name, that there is indeed a connection to higher source, that we are more than just a physical body. We have several bodies. And I often say, well, this physical body is just 20% of who we are. 80% of our soul is outside the body. Only 20% is in the body. So we really take people on that journey as far as becoming now more aware, and I do it through breathing, and I do it through I call it a mind journey, and bring people to that space where they're above the body, and then we practice going in and out of the body, and then I have them go further out of the body, and then be aware of the spaces around them, the dimensions around them, what do they feel, what do they see. Outside the human senses, what are you experiencing? And then I have to bring a spirit, a guide of theirs. I set up a whole garden, and I have them go to this garden, and I ask them to bring a spirit in, a guide of theirs, come in behind them and stand behind them, and I have them feel the energy of that guide. Let the guide send you energy that is unique to that specific guide, and then they receive that energy. And then, Christine, from that moment on, whenever they connect with a guide, then they know what that energy is like, right?
Right.
So they can do this in a way where they just bring then their counsel, and they work with them, and they feel them. The more they do it, the better they get at it. And then they can also bring loved ones who have passed over, and receive them in their mind, because the soul is the mind is the soul. The brain dies a physical death, but the mind continues on. And so the spirit people come to you in the mind. So their mind, their soul connects with your soul to soul, mind to mind. So you receive telepathic feelings, messages. You receive visions of things clairvoyantly. And so that's how it works, basically. shortening up the process. But
it's fascinating because it seems like not only are you teaching people to tap in, but you're also helping to reinforce their trust in the process.
Well, you're such a funny lady because I'm right in the middle of filming another course, and before I go to the radio show, we're talking about trust. Having trust within yourself, learning to trust your own soul, not learning to the people around you or the world you're in. No, you're in charge of your own life and trusting your own feelings, and that's what it's about. Yeah, it's none of this information is mine. It's all of our information. I'm just teaching it. I'm opening it up to other people because everybody has the right to be able to connect with the spirit world. Right, I don't think there are some mediums like myself. We are tuned in maybe to a certain level or degree, but there's no reason why everybody can't have a sense of someone standing behind them, a sense of what if the energy feels like of a mother, of a father, of a child, and then bringing your mind open to receiving the messages from them. Maybe it'll be a word, maybe it'll just be a vision, but there's no reason why other people cannot do that because we're all souls.
Right.
We're all souls.
So this council that we have, what's their purpose in our lives?
So the council or guides, I'll say, it's so invested in our evolving as well. So it's not just, we have to remember that it's not just us and them. They're with us. They're evolving. So we evolve at all different levels. So right now, we souls are on the physical level, learning lessons in the human world to evolve spiritually. But there are guides that are drawn to us, and they are helping us with our human conditions, influencing us, assisting us. But also we have to remember that they're evolving too. So maybe by helping us, they will evolve a certain level too. So they're helping us to help ourselves. And within that, we're connected, and we're helping them to help themselves. So it's an exchange, if you will, an interaction between these levels, if you will.
That makes sense. So, you're teaching people how to connect, and this has nothing to do with ego. So, do our egos play an important role while we're in human form?
Yes and no. Yes. So the ego, we need the human ego, and the ego will provide us, if you will, the energy to go and do something. The sense of I have to get something done. I have to go. It gives us that force to go out and do something, really.
Right.
And our own sense or identity of us in this human world. Okay, that's the ego. It can identify our humanness here in this world, and we need that to kind of survive in a way in this human world. So I think the ego is great and wonderful and powerful, but we also got to remember to keep it in moderation. See it for what it is. We don't want the ego to run our lives. We want to be aware of the ego, how it helps us and assists us with things. But the ego is just one thing, right? Then we're a soul, so the soul's beyond the ego. We need the ego to help us to move things around this human world, but that's it. Don't let the ego disrupt your connection to Source. So the ego, E-G-O, is edging God out. I love that. E-G-O, edging God out. And it's really, really true. When you're in the ego, you shut off that sense to Source, that sense of God, which is, and I can say everybody receives it through the crown chakra at the top of their head.
Right.
They're being influenced. But if the ego is there to block the thing, I'm not hearing anything, I'm not connecting, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve love. So the ego is getting in the way. So when you do this type of work, or everyone wants to tune in, they have to put the ego to the side and realize that they are first and foremost a soul being having this human experience, and the soul is connected to Source energy all the time. So it's just opening up that faucet.
Right. So, I think that there are probably many of us who signed up for this mission at this time to open up more fully, to assist with the vibration of the planet. And I know that many of us are also feeling some reluctance about now. How do we break through the ego fear to show up fully in what our soul's mission is here?
Well, number one, get to know your soul, get a sense of who you are, have a sense of who is my soul, what is it doing here, what is my mission right now, how can I provide healing and love and understanding in the times of craziness right now, because it is crazy out there.
Right.
So what can my soul do to provide an understanding, an opening, an awareness? So first of all, have the relationship with yourself. Don't look to others, look to yourself first of all to open that space up. What can you do to make the world better?
Right.
We could first have to I talk about the microcosm, going back to yourself first. And I guess having that sense of who we are, many people think the soul is just this body here on this earth. But we've got to realize that we're so much more than this, that we as a soul being are also outside of linear time.
Right.
That I often tell people, when you think of the soul, think of like the sun, and that this is one ray of light is this human body here. But you as a soul have many rays of light. So you can experience life right now on other planets, other solar systems, other star systems, all at the same time you're experiencing the human level. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting one, right?
Mind-boggling, but yeah, fascinating.
Mind-boggling,
yes.
And they, because the spirit people have often said, when people have asked the human people, I call them humans, when the humans ask, what is it like from the spiritual point of view, from your world, to look at the humans and the human earth? And they said, if you'd understand that, you could look at it this way. The earth is like a grain of sand on the beach. That's how vast the universes are. So it's worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds.
Right.
And we're all a part of that. Our souls, our lights, are part of all these different levels. It's pretty amazing.
It is. I've often thought that our universe is like maybe one soul in a much larger, one cell in a much larger body. And,
that's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And don't limit the body.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like years ago, a friend of mine said, well, can you be part of the animal kingdom and the human kingdom? They're separate, right? And I used to think that they're separate entities, the human kingdom, animal kingdom. And a healer friend said, James, why are you limiting the soul?
Right.
Why can't the soul of the human be part of the soul of the animal be part of the human? And that's really the way it is. When I talk about connecting to the oneness, that's exactly what it is. It's connected to that life force in an animal, in a plant, in a human, in a rock, in the water. It's all the same energy. So why limit ourselves? But that's the human illusion, you see.
Right.
The human getting in the way.
So, James, I think that there are a lot of people in the consciousness movement who will just, in a flip sort of way say, we're all one. Like it's this belief system. So I know that you tap into so much more. What is the real experience of oneness?
So this is really interesting. It gets to a point for me, again, my experience has always been with that oneness. What is that oneness? Well, it's that prana, the energy of life and everything. But it's not only saying that we're in the oneness, but it's also experiencing that.
Yes.
So if I say I'm part of that oneness of an animal, it's getting into the heart of that animal. You change places. You become the heart of that animal. You start seeing things from their perspective, seeing things from their perspective. What do they feel? What are they looking at? In your garden, where there's a tree, and the tree maybe has a bent-down branch on it, what is that tree feeling with that bent-down branch? You become the consciousness of that tree, the consciousness of the animal, the consciousness of that's really what I'm talking about, kind of changing places, having from their perspective. And I think that's really what it's more about. Otherwise, it's just a label. But you have to experience life from their point of view. And that also goes in, Christine, too, which I think is just so wonderful. And the truth is very simple, but the humans complicate things, which is the golden rule. Treat another as you want to be treated, because we're all the same energy. So it's becoming part of that. So right now we're in a tough time with Trump. We really are. It's a tough time. And I usually don't talk politics, but I'm going to say that, boy, I really have empathy, because if I change places with that soul, I think that there's something there which is not even aware. He's sleeping, not aware of what he's doing, that there might be some mental things going on there. Who knows? But there's definitely some troubling things happening there for that soul. So instead of judging it, let's just try to help the world around however we can. But, there's ways of tuning into and being understanding, compassionate, being aware.
I feel the same way. And with Trump, from my perspective, he's probably a narcissist. I'm not a therapist.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right, but
megalomaniac.
and yet, when you hear about how narcissists are actually created, it's usually between the ages of 2 and 4. A child is either abandoned, rejected, or has the fear of abandonment or rejection, and and the empathy center stops developing in the brain. And so, if you think in terms of Trump being a scared little child, then all the hatred and the blame game is actually going to make things worse.
Yes, because I look at him, I feel sad. I feel underdeveloped, and I just feel sad that he's not. He doesn't know. He doesn't really know what he's doing. But a lot of people out there don't know what they're doing. They don't know the effect they have on other people by their words, by their actions, by their feelings, by their thoughts. They have no idea. So it's like being aware. And unfortunately, he's not aware, which is it's sad.
Right.
It's sad. But we can make his actions aware. We can maybe teach him and these people around by saying this is unacceptable.
Right.
This is not acceptable to human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's the way I see it. And I'm just part of everyone.
Yes, and
setting healthy boundaries, and that's true in our everyday lives. Everyone has to set healthy boundaries. Going back to your power, stop giving your power away, and you say to people, whether it's your family or your employers, or this is unacceptable. This is not treating me. You need to treat me with respect. I am not powerless. I am powerful. No, this is not acceptable.
And I think there are a lot of people who are on their spiritual paths who think that if they set boundaries, they're somehow not being loving.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's teaching that other person. While you're setting boundaries, you're telling them that behavior is unacceptable to who I am. I love myself enough to say what is right for me, what is not right for me, what is acceptable, what resonates as truth for me, and what doesn't. And you have to accept that, whether you want to or not. That's just who I am.
Right.
You know, we can't be so airy-fairy, and we can't be so spiritually evolved. We're just so in the ether and so lovely, and that we're just no earthly good.
I love that. Yes, we've got to ground that frequency into our human form, don't we?
You know why? Because we're human. We're still having a human experience, so we got to live a human life. We can be spiritual too, but we got to also be of the earth. You know, it's very true. A lot of people in this movement, as you know better than I do, in many ways, they're so out there. There's like, well, what? Let's be real here.
Yes.
Let's be real.
Yes, and I think that if we're showing up at this time, part of our mission is to ground that higher frequency vibration onto the planet. And if we're just like connecting there and not bringing it through to our human bodies, then we're not doing our job.
And thoughts are things. So if you have something that's upsetting you, the basic thing you can do is send thoughts of love. Try to send thoughts of understanding. Instead of being fearful and upset, turn that around. Make it to love, understanding. See it as you want it. Push that out. Put visions there. Send visual pictures. Send thoughts of love. Send thoughts of trying to make things move. I mean, thoughts are things. But thoughts are very, very powerful.
Right.
So we can combat everything with thought energy, prayer work. Prayers are thoughts. So, that's really what we can do.
So if we have a fear, then are we just supposed to pretend that it's not there? How are we supposed to handle that fear?
False ego appearing real?
Yeah.
I mean, fears are real for us on certain levels. Sure, they are there, but they should help us to move ahead. They should help us to make a change. Help us to don't get stuck in this fear, because, if we're in fear, we're in the past. The fear can't be part of the present. When you're in the present moment, you don't have fear. Fear is of the past. So what that does is encourages us to be mindful. We have to live a mindfulness. If I'm living in the present moment and I'm mindful about this moment right now, there is no fear.
Right.
You see? So more of that we have to look at and live.
Yeah.
It's not easy because we want to go back to the fear. So training ourselves to be present. What are you going to do with the present moment?
And I think sometimes when we start letting go of some of these fears, we let go of these things, these circumstances, these relationships that aren't serving our soul. It can be a little confusing in terms of finding our identity of who we are.
Ding, ding, ding. There you go back to you have to know yourself first. It's their own self be true. And those fears, hopefully there'll be tools that one can use to understand themselves better, to understand what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what resonates as truth, what doesn't resonate with truth, what's healthy, what's not healthy, giving their power away, taking your power back.
Right.
That helps us with that. It helps us have a better understanding and clarity if we use it that way.
Well, James, this hour is flying by. If in like 30 to 45 seconds, you have a quick message for our listeners.
Yeah, use love instead of fear, and don't jump into judgment. Stop, take a couple of breaths, and look at the whole situation. Right. And it's complex. And we're all in it together. Everyone's here together. Everyone's as one. We're not separate. We're all one. We're just going to help each other out.
Right. And we need each other about now, don't we?
We need each other. We got to acknowledge each other. We need each other for sure.
Yeah. So again, your James Van Praagh School of Mystical Arts. What's the website?
Yep, that's the website, the James Van Praagh School of Mystical Arts, and it's called Opening Your Psychic Portals, Understanding Clairvoyance, Clairaudience, Clairsentience, Claircognizance, and more. And it's right now there's a big discount. It's like 60% off as a new course.
Wow.
So yes, it's really great, and it's a lifetime course. So people get emails every day and they it's great. We have a great community, so people can look into that and see, and just go to the school page and see what resonates with them. It'd be great.
Right, and then of course your main website is vanpraagh.com, vanpraagh.com. You know, James, thank you so much for joining us here today. This hour has flown by. I always enjoy my conversations with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us here today. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
You've been listening to the Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey. Each week, this show engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information about the transformative healing work of Christine, visit www.stellarreflections.com. And for weekly topics, visit www.transformationtalkradio.com.